So I turned 25 in almost a month, and the time between 18 to 25 goes by like this. And I just wanted to make a video reflecting upon that time and just the lessons that I learned, things that I thought that I did wrong, things that I could have done better. And like, I haven't done anything super substantial in my life. I'm not somebody that you would look up to and be like, I want to be like him. But whatever I say, just take it with a grain of salt and just sharing my journey. Number one lesson: love yourself. Dude, nobody is gonna love you more than you love yourself. I spent my life thinking it was somebody else's responsibility to love me, take care of me, take care of my needs. If something goes wrong, it's somebody else's responsibility to fix it, even though it's something that's wrong in my life. I was outsourcing my sense of responsibility to other people. And if you do that, you get to a place where you become dependent on others, not just for fixing your life, but for validation, for regular needs. You need other people, otherwise you don't feel happy, you don't feel content. Think about this. You love yourself, let's say 25%. Okay? Then somebody comes into your life and they love you 50%. Now, just because you don't love yourself enough, the other person who loves you 50% is a lot for you, because you just don't love yourself enough. So anything above what you love yourself is great, and you think, oh wow, that's amazing, wow, they love me so much, that's amazing. But in reality, they just love you a little more than you love yourself. If you were to love yourself 100%, if you really leaned in, if you really told yourself that, man, I really love myself, I'm really, really happy with who I am, there's a lot to gain. I need to grow myself, I need to make money, I need to have a good physique. 100%. But do that with love in your heart for yourself. And if you love yourself 100%, if somebody comes in and loves you 50%, 60%, not enough. If somebody comes in and they love you 100%, like you love yourself, that's a good relationship. That's real love. So love yourself, man. It's nobody else's responsibility but yours. Nobody is responsible for anything that happens in your life. Everything is your responsibility. If you think you're not happy in your life, well, it's your responsibility. If you think you don't have a good physique, it's your responsibility to work on it. If you think you haven't made enough money, it's your responsibility to work on it. Nobody's coming to save you. Nope. This whole idea of having self-worth, it's so ironical, because we talk about self-worth and then we look for self-worth externally. We think that once I get that fancy car, that'll fix my self-worth. Once I get enough money, that'll fix my self-worth. Once I get that hot girl, that'll fix my self-worth. But it's so ironical, because this is the reason it's called self-worth. There's self in it. You are the only one who can fix your self-worth. Nobody else. You can have the best things in life. You can have the biggest house, the hottest girlfriend. You can have the most amount of money. But that inner work that needs to be done as a human being, that healing that you need to do of your inner child, all that trauma that you need to fix, that has to be done internally. There are some things you can't outsource to other people or other material things. Okay. Love yourself. Lesson number 2. Stop coping. This idea of, once I go through a breakup, I'll fix my life. Once I go through tough times, that's when I'll do this. Once I get this, then I'll do that. That's all a cope. I'm a huge believer in self-help, self-improvement. But if you have this mindset that once you hit rock bottom, then you'll try to start fixing your life, that's just a cope that you have for yourself. Suppose you didn't go through that breakup. You didn't go through being broke. Would you not fix your life? Would you not work on yourself? Would you not be on this self-improvement journey? There's so many times where if I look back in my life, there's been so many times when I went through a breakup, or I hit rock bottom in the sense that I got no money in my pocket, I got no job, I'm unemployed, I'm working as I'm doing like a shitty job. I would tell myself, okay, now it's time to fix myself, now I'm gonna do this, I've got so much motivation. But that was all just a cope. That lasts very short period. This idea of you'll fix your life suddenly just because you went through a breakup, it's a cope. You have to realize that self-improvement and working on yourself is something that you need to do constantly. It's not a destination, it's a flow state. It's not something that it's not just something you do. Let me put it this way. It's not something you do. It's just something you are. You are the type of person who is constantly improving himself, who is constantly working on his goals. It's not something you do for a short period of time just because you had a breakup. Number 3. Life is a flow state. This idea of reaching somewhere never happens. Few years ago, my goal was I want to go to Canada. Number 1, my goal was, okay, I want to get out of India, I want to go to Canada. That was like one of my goals. And I was so, I was so passionate. I was so looking forward to it. So when I got my visa, when I got my work permit, I felt great. That short burst of dopamine hit, that was amazing. But then I reached Canada, and in the beginning, it was really, man, I love this. This is awesome. After some time, it just fades off. And now I've got a new goal. I want to find a job. Then I find a job. I get that dopamine hit for a short period of time. And then there's a next goal. So in my mind, I was thinking, once I get that job, I'll be content. I'll be happy. I'll reach someplace. But I didn't, because my goals just kept upgrading. Even if you look at the richest person, they keep upgrading their goals as well. So in our mind, we think once we reach that goal, that's when we'll reach someplace in life. That's like a destination, but that destination never arrives. That destination keeps shifting forward. So this idea that you have of, I'll hostage my happiness till I reach that place, you'll never arrive there. So just be happy. Like, happiness is a choice. For sure, you got goals to achieve, you've got a life to live, You got things, you've got things to strive for. But if you think that until I achieve those things, I won't be happy, then you're missing out in life. Dude, you can wake up in the morning and just realize the fact that the chances of you being born are 1 in 400 trillion. The odds are against your favor, but you're still alive. That should be enough reason to be happy, for, in my opinion. Like, just having a life is the greatest gift. Anything above that is a plus point. Always be striving for good things, always be striving to improve yourself, but live with this intention that life's amazing, man. Just the fact that you have a life, it's all you need, man. All you need. Number 3, be vulnerable. Put down your guard, especially for men. So I left my house when I was 12 years old. I went to a boarding school, and coming from a family of 3 elder sisters, I had my mom and dad. When I was home, I would talk to my parents, I would talk to my sisters about what's happening in life, how's everything. Every day you come back from school, mom asks you, how was the day? What did you do? Did you make friends? What did your friends do? You share everything about you without any sense of you are being judged, without any sense of what if they use this against me, all that. I had 12 years old. I go to a boarding school, and in our school we had limited time as to when we can talk to our parents. So it was like, you can go to this phone booth and you can talk to your parents, I don't know, for 30 minutes a day. And something interesting happened. I stopped sharing things with my parents. I felt that, why do I need to? I felt that they are so far away from me. I care about them. They care about me. If I tell them that something bad happened, they'll worry about me. I don't want them to worry about me, so I would not share things. And that's a trap. Because when you were young, you were telling your parents everything. You were telling them, I had a fight in school, this guy told me this, blah, blah, blah. You tell them everything without a fear of judgment. But if you have this mindset of only telling them the good things, you won't build that trust or that relationship. And I carried that forward my entire life. Because I thought, why should I tell the other person what's wrong, what's happening wrong in my life? And I'm not just saying negative things, but anything that you think would make them worry about you. So you just stop sharing things with people. And what happens is, as you start growing up, as you become an adult, you have built this guard above you, this shield where you're always trying to protect yourself. And you think, and when you become an adult, you have a friend who is sharing everything about themselves, who is being vulnerable in front of you. And you think, if I get vulnerable in front of them, they'll worry about me. But you don't realize that you are ripping them off of the greatest joy of being a human being. I think the greatest joy of being a human is sharing each other's sufferings, talking to each other, sharing each other's problems. I think that is the greatest gift you can give a friend, is to tell them, hey, this is what's wrong. I need somebody to talk to. Would you talk to me? Like, dude, that is the greatest thing you can do for a friend. You are stealing them off. You're ripping them off of the greatest joy of a human being. So that's very selfish of you. And that's how I live my life. That's how I lived those 18 to 25 years where I would just not tell anybody anything. I would just keep things inside of me. And I think that I'm being strong. Oh, look at that. Wow, how strong he is. He doesn't have any problems in his life. And I say this especially for the men. Because we have been told to keep a stoic face, keep things to ourselves, which is great. You know what? There's sometimes when you need to keep things to yourself. You don't need to tell everything about yourself to everybody. You gotta be very selective of friends. But the problem is, there comes a time when you need to share things, but you have programmed yourself in a way where you wouldn't tell anything to your friends because you're a man. You're supposed to be strong. You're supposed to not have problems. That's the issue. People think that by not having problems in life, you become strong. But it's actually kind of opposite. By having problems and dealing with them head on, that's how you become strong. So yeah, especially for the men, dude, like, guys, please share things with your friends. Share what's wrong, what's happening. Your friends deserve to know this. And if you're not doing it, you're being selfish, man. You're being fucking selfish. Be vulnerable. Number 4 advice I would give to my 18-year-old self. Your addictions, your bad habits are merely a symptom to a bigger problem, which is a bad mental health. Think about this. If you have a bad day, if you're having a bad day or if something goes wrong, how do you let loose? How do you relax? You lean into your addictions. If you're a chain smoker and you're feeling anxious, you would smoke more. So it's a coping mechanism that you have trained your body to do. So when you have a shitty day, you cope with your addictions instead of sitting with your thoughts, realizing the fact that something went wrong in life and I need to fix it and I need to sit with this anxiety for a bit. You don't do that. You go into your bad habits. I used to do that and I still do at times. Whenever I get anxiety or something bad happens, I would just find a cope. I had different coping mechanisms at different stages in my life. At one stage it was smoking weed, at one stage it was pornography. But if you want to fix your bad habits, if you want to fix your addictions, don't focus on the symptoms. Don't try to quit smoking. If you want to quit smoking, don't quit smoking. Think about what is making you smoke. Think about what is causing you to smoke. It's like you've amputated your arm. Your arm is cut off from your body and you're trying to fix it with a band-aid. It's a short-term fix. So if you want to fix your smoking addiction or your porn addiction, you don't do it by quitting porn. You do it by going deep inside, leaning in and talking to yourself and asking yourself this question: what is making me to smoke, to watch porn, to smoke weed? What is making me do that? So you have to really lean in and fix the bigger problem. You have to fix your mental health. And there's so many, like these days, there's so many courses, there's so many YouTube videos on how to fix your mental health. I think the number one reason, and it's getting worse and worse, is sleep. As a living creature, you are supposed to sleep 8 hours every single day. For sure, you can function on 5 hours of sleep. You can function on even 4 hours of sleep. And a lot of people do, and they are proud of the fact that they only slept 5 hours, and it's like a flexy thing. But you are being suboptimal. You're working at a suboptimal capacity. It's like if you have a car and you don't do an oil change, it'll run for a few months without an oil change, but it really needs an oil change. So if you don't get the oil change done regularly, the car's engine isn't gonna last. Same with your health. And I mean not just mental, but physical health too. If you don't fix your sleep, your mental health's gonna suffer, your physical health's gonna suffer. The greatest survey on the correlation of heart disease and sleep is done every year. So when countries go into daylight saving, and the country that loses an hour, they see a rise in heart diseases. And the country that gets 1 hour extra, they see a fall in heart diseases. So it's a proven fact at this point that bad sleep causes heart problems, it causes depression. If you go to a psychologist and you're having bad mental health, if you're suffering with depression, the first remedy they tell you is to sleep well. How's a sleep like? Are you going to bed at the same time and waking up at the same time? Are you sleeping in a quiet, dark room? Are you not looking at screens at night before you go to bed? Are you exercising so you can sleep better? There's all these things that are so interlinked with your sleep. But yeah, number one thing, fix your sleep. Number two, meditate. There was a quote that I read, I think it was somebody like 100 years ago. They said 90% of men's problems arise because he can't sit by himself in a room for 30 minutes. If it was true 100 years ago, it's true today more than ever. We live in a time of social media, smartphones, where you get bombarded with information via reels. And you can't help but scroll mindlessly. So we've killed boredom. Think about this. When's the last time you got bored? When's the last time you were standing in a line at a grocery store and you were just by yourself, not consuming anything? No, most people just pull out their phones whenever they get bored and start scrolling, and you can't blame yourself. We've killed boredom. That's where most of the history's greatest ideas came from, is by people got bored and they thought of a problem in their life or a problem around them. They thought of an idea. Let's do this, we can do that. You know, Newton was sitting under a tree and he saw an apple fall. And he was bored and he thought, why did that apple fall and not go up? And he discovered the laws of gravity. Imagine if Newton was scrolling on Instagram. He wouldn't even care about if the apple fell or not. So you need to get bored, man. There's this thing called overstimulation. So we have a little chemical in our brains. It's called dopamine. And the job of dopamine is to motivate us to do things. So dopamine came from the caveman times. The whole idea was, if you were to eat in the caveman times, you need to go out and hunt. To go out and hunt, you need the motivation to go out and hunt. because it's a difficult and lengthy process. It's not something you can just sit at your room, scroll on a 2D screen and just order Instacart. You can't do that back then. So your brain developed a chemical which gave you motivation to go out and hunt for food. And when you got that food, when you ate that food, you got a sense of reward, in a sense of dopamine. So dopamine evolved to be this chemical of motivation. Now the problem is, your brain doesn't understand the difference between what's real and what's not real. So in today's world, you're not going out and hunting for food. You have everything at your fingertips. But our brain hasn't evolved yet. So our brain still thinks we are in caveman times and we are still hunting and going out and eating. So we need dopamine. So what happens is, when you open Instagram or any social media app and you watch a reel, so these reels are designed to give you a sense of pleasure. They sap onto your emotional systems and they give you a sense of pleasure in the sense of dopamine. They give you a reward, right? So you watch a reel, you get a reward. You scroll to the next reel and you get another reward, because it feels good to watch a reel. It's like pleasure, right? Pleasure is about dopamine. It's all connected to your dopamine receptors. Now you keep scrolling for hours and hours and hours. You have overstimulated yourself. Your brain thinks that all this dopamine that you're getting is from hunting and gathering. Your brain thinks that you went out to hunt and you got this reward in the sense of the animal that you're gonna eat. So the moment you scroll, your body is giving you a dopamine hit and you're getting rewards. And your brain thinks that this guy went to hunt and this is a reward. Let me give him a pleasure. Let me give him some pleasure. But the problem is, you're not going hunting and gathering. You're not putting in any efforts. You're just laying in your bed by yourself in front of a 2D screen and you're scrolling and you're hacking your dopamine systems to get activated without doing anything. So you're overstimulating your brain because you've given it so much dopamine without doing any effort. So the next time around, your brain is so overstimulated that it doesn't need to do any efforts and it doesn't feel the motivation to do any efforts. Because if you have already hunted and gathered so much food and you have unlimited supply of that food, why do you need to go out and hunt? So it's like you're killing your motivation by mindlessly scrolling. You're killing your dopamine receptors. Now, the reason that overstimulation is bad for you, basically your dopamine has a baseline. So the moment you wake up at the baseline, and the very first thing you do is open your phone, look at Instagram or YouTube or any social media app. You get dopamine, you get a sense of reward from it, and you keep scrolling. You go to work, scroll, you get to this level, right? Now, when you stop scrolling, you would think that now that I'm not scrolling, my dopamine levels would reset to the baseline, because why wouldn't it? That's where I started, so it should go back to the baseline. But no, your dopamine levels go beyond the baseline because of the overstimulation. And that is the reason you feel depressed and anxious, because you're below the baseline level. So this is baseline, where you're like a normal human being, and anything above that is pleasurable, is where you feel rewards. But anything below that is depressed, is the reason you feel anxious, is the reason you feel low in life. So the more you can keep your dopamine levels around the baseline, the happier you will be in life in the long run. Because in the short term, yeah, for sure, short term gratification feels awesome. It feels amazing to scroll in the moment. It feels amazing to jerk off to looking at pornography. But in the long term, it's not healthy for you. It's not good for you. Fifth advice I have for my 18-year-old self. Embarrass yourself. Make mistakes. Don't be afraid to make mistakes. There's this amazing quote that I heard from Ashton Butler, and I think he heard it somewhere else too. But it was, embarrassment is an underexplored emotion. Go out there and make a fool of yourself. Now, when a baby is learning how to walk, it gets up on both of his feet, tries to walk, he falls down multiple times in front of everybody. But a baby doesn't sit down and ponder upon the fact that I'm embarrassed, so I'm not gonna get back up and try again. They all saw me fall down, they all saw me fail. Now I'm not gonna get back up again because I'll get embarrassed. A baby doesn't think that. He doesn't give a shit about what you're thinking. All he cares about is achieving his goal, which is learning to walk. And it just keeps trying for weeks, for months. And eventually, a baby starts walking. And what does everybody do? Wow, look, he's walking. Wow, everybody's so happy. What if that baby had thought, oh man, I fell down multiple times. It's pointless. I don't want to get back up and start walking again. No, he doesn't think that. Because if he thought and lived with that emotion, he would never get anywhere in life. He wouldn't even think about this. Even learning how to walk, you had to embarrass yourself. So when you go out there in the world and you make a mistake or you fall down in life, if you were to just sit down and say, man, everybody saw me fall down, I'm embarrassed, I don't want to do this again, you won't get anywhere in life.